sure I had everything geared up. So let me share my screen. Share screen. Okay, that's not what I want to see. I knew I was going to happen, Miss Patty. I said, watch when I close it out. When I try to go back to it, there we go. It was going to take forever. So I'm about to share my screen for real this time. And, and we're going to get this started. Let me know if you all can see my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So once again, good afternoon, TLI family. LaShawn Shelton, educator. I've had the proud pleasure to meet everybody here in this room on a professional level, some on a personal level, and some of us really became close. And I think that communication played a huge part of that. So today's PD is restorative communication. It's not what you say, but how you say it. So first off, Ubuntu, I am because we are. And we're going to have a restorative conversation around this because I want to know, what does this mean to you as a TLI family member? We're not staff members, we're family members. What does this mean to you? And if you look at the Adinkra symbol, Ebon, it means fence, which means that we protect each other in some form or some fashion. So I'll just go around with a few people. When you see this, I am because we are, and I emphasize the we boldly. What does that mean to you?
For me, it's that literally we can't do this alone. We have to do this together. We all bring something special and unique to the table. Mm-hmm. There's situations that I might be the person you go to. There's situations that Mr. Miller might be the person you go to. There's Wilson, depending on your connection with the student, depending mm-hmm. on your relation, your role in the building. We're a team, and we can't do it by ourselves.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Ubuntu.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We are a unified family, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we function as a family.
Absolutely. I'll take maybe about two more.
Ms. Shelton, this is Malik. This is one of my favorite. Ubuntu is one of my favorite African words, and for me, it really means that no one of us is more important than all of us. Mm-hmm. That's and then ultimately our destinies, our failures, our successes are interconnected. That I can't reach my fullest potential unless we all reach our fullest potential.
Absolutely.
And that's and that when we show up not just for ourselves but for everyone else. Mm-hmm. I love that song.
Thank you. It's my favorite too. Anyone else?
If I can just add really quick, I think this word makes me think of Kwanzaa and the principle of unity. And I think historically, oppressed communities have been divided in order for that conquest and oppression could occur. So kind of pushing against that and unifying the next program.
Okay, awesome. And there's no wrong answer in any of this. To me, it means that I cannot be successful. I'm kind of echoing what Dr. Muhammad is saying, because if my success in the classroom or outside the classroom happens, it's not because of me. It's because of something that each one of us intricately played in my life, whether it was an ear, whether it was a timeout because maybe the scholars aren't working, or maybe it's a training, maybe it's just a simple, hey, how are you? And that's why this is important. So this represents a TLI team and a community as a whole. This is us in our building, which is a protective fence, and in a community that we serve, which also deserves a protective fence. And once there was an anthropologist that proposed this game, right? And the game was basically like, listen, I'm going to put this fruit by this tree, and I'm going to see who the first one is that's going to reach this fruit. You have to run vigorously. You have to run with value. You have to get there. And whoever gets there first will be the ones who enjoy the fruit. Well, to his surprise, as you can see, they all ran together with their hands locked like this. And when he asked, wait a minute, Why did you do that? Someone could have had this to themselves and enjoyed all the fruit. And they said, how can one of us be happy if the other ones are sad? And this is a really huge thing when we think about us as a team, but also our scholars and how we communicate with them. So I need 6 volunteers for this one. When we talk about communication, communication is not just having a conversation verbally like we're doing right now. There are go-to modes of communication. And some of us, we pick specific reasons, specific ones for specific reasons. So for example, my mode of communication, emails, cell phone, and social media. So does anyone else have favorite modes of communication in which they encode and decode information?
I'll go with you, email and cell phone.
Okay.
For me, it's text, cell phone, but specifically texting.
Okay.
For me, text messages, emails, cell phone.
Okay.
For me, it's text
For me, I would
messages.
say text message.
I heard Cobb White.
For Cosby, social media and text messages is the best way to communicate.
Okay.
For me.
All right.
We have a blogging channel. I do Twitch and Mixer.
Okay. Anyone else?
I actually like in person. Sorry.
Okay.
I was about to say pop up emails and social media.
Okay, so as you can see, we all have variations in which we love to communicate. Arissa, she wants to be hand-on, face-to-face, while some of us enjoy texting, we enjoy social media, we enjoy emails, and for us, that's the best way to communicate. And our communication modes also have to do with our lifestyle. So if you have a busy lifestyle where you're on the go all the time, it may not be ideal to communicate in person, or it may not be ideal to communicate via phone. However, we may be able to get back with you in an inbox or a text message or an email. It doesn't dilute the fact that we're communicating. It's just specific to what's comfortable with us. And that's what we have to keep in consideration when we're thinking about our children. So communication from our childhood can now affect us as adults. Melody was talking about childhood trauma yesterday as it relates to opioid dependency and addiction. And the symbol of a point of importance with Sankofa, return and get it. This is an African word from Ghana, which really means it's not taboo to go fetch what is at risk being left behind. But what you want to do is when you go back and look at it from behind, you want to come back wiser than where you met it. So if it was a bad experience, what are you going to do different with it to make it better? The same thing with communicating with our scholars. If they had a bad experience, which they all did, which is why they're with us right now, it may have been a challenge academically, a challenge emotionally, or all of the above. What are we doing to make it a safe place for them to reach back into what happened in the past, be able to talk about it, and get new tools in their toolkit to be able to overcome it and become better? So developmental trauma is more common than any of us even realize. So I borrowed this from Psychology Today because 78% of children reports more than one traumatic experience before the age of 5. Again, 78% of children report more than one traumatic experience before the age of 5. The age of 5, when we think about it, that's when they're playing with their dolls and their G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, and they're learning how to emulate what mom, dad, or grandma, Mima, or Lala is doing. But most of these babies are enduring some form of trauma. And because of this, that trauma can now spill over into adulthood. So how do we remember democracy or unity if we're not familiar? Okay, now, Dr. Muhammad, I've been practicing this word for days, all right? So just bear with me. But Fontu, Fon Infu, Din Kiwink Fon Ufu means a symbol of democracy and unity, which means that you have a crocodile that are Siamese. They share one stomach, but they fight over food. And they're trying to say that tribalism and fighting can be harmful to whom engages. So we're all here for one reason. We're all here to work with our scholars, to get them excited about learning and help address those challenges that they may have present with. But if we're in here as Siamese crocodiles fighting for attention and communication and love and admiration from one student, we're defeating the purpose, because now we're starting to bite each other and fight each other instead of enjoying the same meal that one stomach shares. So now 20% of children up to the age of 6 received or in need of treatment for traumatic experiences, including sexual abuse, neglect, exposure to domestic violence, and trauma, loss, or bereavement. This is what our babies, this is what they're dealing with. This may not be our story, and it may not be every one of their stories, but it is definitely there. So because of that, let's be cognizant that our childhood may have remnants of our past, and removing and or delaying the ability to have compassion for certain things or certain people. So let's talk about this, right? I remember growing up, and my granny, right, Granny Amy, she used to love The Young and the Restless. She used to love finding out what Nick and Victor was going to do, search for tomorrow what Brandon and Katie was going to do. And God forbid I asked Granny for something from the kitchen during those times. She would say, if you don't sit yourself down and make yourself small somewhere, there's going to be a problem. And that stuck with me. And then I found myself recapitulating that with my kids. If you don't sit down over there and make yourself small, there's going to be a problem. And not realizing that we're taking away that inquisitive nature that our children present with. And how many times have we had conversations in the break room or in the hallway, and one of our scholars say, hey, Mrs. Wynn, or hey, Mrs. Carr, I have a question. What do we say? Excuse me, you see me talking. And that translates to, if you don't go over there, make yourself small and wait till I come back. And the kids remember this, right? So loss of childhood. I never really had a childhood or remember much from growing up. That stems from trauma. Maybe they channeled that short memory opposed to long memory in order to get over what they went through. Or missing parts of oneself. I always felt like something was missing, but I don't quite know what it is. Again, blocking out some form of trauma, and because they block out that entire sector of their life, they're missing parts that may have been positive. Attraction to destructive relationships. I'm that kind of person that always date people who are bad for me. Like, I want to put a brand new battery in this broken toy and make it work because it's me. And because it's me, it's going to be successful. But then when it has the same outcome, we wonder why. It's not the person, it's that mirror reflective image of what's broken in me attracts a brokenness in you. Then there's avoidance of relationship. I'm someone who's better off alone. Like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to date anybody. I got a good book right here. I got a cup of tea, and I got The Young and the Restless, and I'm all right. Right? Avoidance of relationships. That's that abandonment that happens in some of our children's lives. Mom, dad, whomever, they're nowhere to be found. They may be in active addiction. They may be incarcerated. And for some of our scholars, to whomever they're dating, now that parent is focusing on them opposed to the child themselves. Then avoidance of oneself. I don't like to think about myself. It makes me feel bad. And then we mask that with that communication that we got when we were younger. Don't be vain. Don't toot your own horn. That's where that comes from. And then difficulty integrating emotions into one's identity. I'm not the kind of person who has strong feelings about things. That's a person who's like, it's either or. I'm good. You pick it, because it doesn't really matter. Okay, these are all stemming from some form of trauma that has been built into communication that manifests at a later age. So how is this affecting our scholars? Let's put it together right now. Let's start piecing this together. We talk about honest expression. We want our scholars to feel empowered. We want them to feel safe and vulnerable to talk about whatever it is that they need to talk about in the classroom and out. We know that the majority of our babies have a difficult time focusing and or doing their best in the classroom because of whatever is happening at home or in their community or with a friend or with a family member. Let's remember that every one of our scholars are not in the same position. We have some who are well off. We have some who may have to live in, transitional housing. We may have some that's in between. We have scholars with dual family households. And then we have scholars with a 95-year-old guardian. So I want one person to do this with me, okay? Because we need to remember when we communicate, when I see or hear the observation, I feel because I need. So I'll model this really quick. When I see little Johnny run around the hallway and we have a code white because there's visitors in the building, I feel embarrassed, scared, angry, annoyed, worried, because I need validation that my principal knows I can handle what I'm doing. I need to feel order, and that what my lesson is the best thing since sliced bread, and they need to be there and listen to it. What's wrong with that scenario?
It sounds like it's a lot to do with you versus the child.
Exactly.
Like it's more geared towards what you feel and how you present yourself versus the situation with the child. What is making the child run through the hallway or those things versus, you know, what the look is upon you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jones. So is this a part where I say, yo, Johnny, you're running down the hall, you're making me look bad. Like, come on back in the classroom. Like, how would I talk to Johnny to get him feel safe enough that after ripping down all those beautiful posters that Johnny put up and running past Tammy and knocking down a water bottle, or even running in the hallways and going upstairs in Meredith, what can I say to Johnny to make him feel safe enough to come back in the classroom? Anybody?
What do you need, Johnny? What do you need for me to help you get to where you need to go?
Excellent. 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 So now what Tammy just said and what Jones just said, now it makes me say this. When I see or hear Johnny running in the hallway, I feel excited that I can empower him to come back, because I know that Johnny wants the success, but he may be going through something right now. I know that Johnny might be in survival mode because he hadn't eaten in a week. The shelter is not, pristine enough. There may not be water or adequate rest. Let me find out what you need. You may be hungry. You may need to put your head down for a few minutes. And then now my conversation will say exactly what Ms. Wilson said. Johnny, what do you need? What can we do to help you become successful? We need to remove the I out of our communication and cater to where our babies need it most. They have heard I their entire life. They need to hear something more restorative. Any questions with that part? Okay, so our approach, the Home to Icon is a special place, which is TLI programs. And a home, again, is a fence around it, which is considered to be ideal in residence. It symbolically separates and secures a family from hurt, harm, and danger. And it also talks about love. When our children come into the building and in our classroom, they are getting and seeking a different type of love than they may be getting and seeking outside. I had a scholar who had a dual family household, lived in a beautiful home, parents very well off, but he was seeking love and affection from the wrong crowd. And that was because he felt sheltered and trapped. It had nothing to do with mommy and daddy not being home, had nothing to do with the lights being out, it had nothing to do with not having food, it had everything in the world to deal with what's happening in the outside world. And I think there's more love out there than I'm getting in here. Okay. And then no one should bite each other. We should have harmony within each other. Once again, we all have our own personalities, but what can we do to make our scholars feel safe? So this gentleman, right, Corey, he's in my, the Black Educators Rock group that I'm in. And thankfully he just recovered from COVID-19. And he shares in the group why he gives handshakes to his scholars, why he memorizes every single one. And he said, because one of my scholars told me that his mother doesn't know anything about him and what he likes outside of Jordans and phones. His mom didn't realize the type of music he likes. His mom didn't know the type of food he likes. And it's because mom was so busy trying to raise him that she was busy not learning about her own child. So to him, it was important to be able to, do the handshakes and, everything. You all seen him on TV, right? And he had 65 scholars and he knew every one of their handshakes, every one of their body language that needs or showed what they needed for that day. And that's what made his classroom successful. It wasn't the fact that he had 37 kids and 2 paras. It was because he knew how to build that fence. He knew how to give that safe and peace, harmonic classroom experience, but he also knew how to read each one of his scholars. So now what does communication look like? Okay, in 1971, Albert Mehrabin, he published a book called Silent Message. And that means that there was an adequate research based on communication as verbal and nonverbal. And this is also the most widely misused tools because people say it's 55% nonverbal and 45% verbal. And that in fact is not true. As we can see, it's a 7-38-55. 7% of communication is words. It is what it is. 7% of how we communicate, it comes from speaking. 30% is with voice, modulation, and pauses. And then, of course, body movements, arms, facial expressions. You know, if I sit here doing the presentation like, all right, and then, you know, after that, the kids may be excited, and then they'll do. I'm not showing that I'm excited about my own presentation, so why would you? So when we teach, we have to be very cognizant of how we, you know, interact with our kids, and they may see in us what they're escaping from at home. I'll say that one more time. They may see in us, in that guarded fence that's supposed to be loving, what they see at home, but they see it in us. So now they don't feel safe. Now they feel like I've been duped, bamboozled, and hoodwinked because they said, when I come to positive change, I'm going to get an academic experience unlike none other, and they will love on me despite of. When I go to skill builders, they don't care that I might wear the same pair of clothes every single day for 3 months straight. They're going to love on me no matter what. When I'm at Cedar Lane, if I chew on a crayon, they're not going to ridicule me, but instead they're going to teach me what not to do. Our body language, what we say, and how we say it is totally important. So I'm going to give you an example of that. When I talk to my children, you know, I'm a New Yorker. My daughter, for the first 4 years of her life, did not speak English. She only spoke Spanish. And I remember when she was little, she said, Mommy, que dice juego en, no, que dice juice in inglés? And I'm like, girl, you just said it. She was asking me, how do you say juice in English? Dude, you just said it. But she didn't understand that because she spoke a different language, she was also integrating the two together. We have scholars in our school with different backgrounds, and it may not be linguistic in nature by the language, but it could be code switching. So I got that. That means, yes, ma'am, I understand. Or stop sweating me, you know, you in my face. That means I don't feel safe because you're too close to me right now. We need to understand what they're saying to us so we can know what to say back to them. Okay? We know that we have scholars that are unfortunately gang related. We have scholars that unfortunately hear F-bombs and B-bombs and you're an a-hole all day long. We have to find out how not to say it there. So if you look at these scenarios right here, right? My daughter, when I was putting this together, she said, oh my God, Mommy, that's not your team, is it? And I said, no, this is not us. It's for purposes of the presentation. But if we can see it, the scholars can see it too. So what would happen if a scholar-teacher relationship was impaired because we were seen this way? So can one person just pick one of these out and tell me which one stands out the most and why?
The one with the gentleman in the middle with all the fingers pointing at him.
Okay.
And the look that he has on his face by having other people look at him in a negative manner. Right,
right. So imagine our scholars walking by and they see all of us ganging up on each other. They're not going to trust us. And what if we gang up on that scholar? They are not going to respect or trust us because of that. We have to be cognizant with our phones. Kids asking for help, and we're sitting there on Facebook like, yeah, girl. Oh, you need help? Okay, hold on 1 minute. Okay. Was someone sharing?
Ms. Shelton, I'm looking at the gentleman yawning and just, you know, seeing a scholar come up or just not engaged, or I'm acting like you're getting on my nerves, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Or in the lounge, or in the middle of a staff meeting, they walk by and they see everyone like, oh my God, what time is it right now? How are they going to respect our lesson if we can't respect our own staff meetings? These are things that we have to put in consideration. If they see it in us and we can see it, they can see it as well.
Yeah.
So our scholars are in dire need of restorative communication. It may be the only place they hear it. It could be housing issues. We don't have anywhere to live, or we have somewhere to live, but I'm not happy with it. Their community, their house may be gorgeous, but the community may not be safe. Okay, we have scholars that did their homework on the floor because they're shooting in their community all the time. Their language is going to be different when it's time to learn. They may sit like this because they are demonstrating fear of what they may have gone through at home. Incarceration at an early age. I remember at Douglas, some of our kids were comparing ankle bracelets, like, yo, my charge is longer than yours, mine is better, you know? But that was a communication that they understood, right? Some of our babies are gang related, and we miss so much because we're not astute with their language. I worked at gang prevention intervention in New York, because I told you I did social work prior to all of this. And we miss an entire conversation because they know how to talk in code with their hands. They know how to talk in code with verbal sounds. Okay. And because of that, we miss the mark. We're not focused and paying attention. We're focused with this and not with this. Parents aren't there. Older guardians. You know, if you have a 95-year-old grandmother raising a 5th grader, the communication is going to be different. Okay, I told you about my granny. Sit down over there. You're getting on my nerves. You're greasing my soul. Okay, that may be heard all day long. Poor diet. If their diet is not nutritious and they're getting all this sugar and additives, the communication is going to be like, I'm not trying to hear that right now because I'm hungry, and it consumed a lot of junk food. Foster care, jumping from home to home. Addiction, we have scholars who are addicted. Lack of economic opportunities. The parents are frustrated, so now it goes down and trickles to the kids. The parentified kids, the ones that have to take care of their siblings. So now I'm playing Fortnite with you at 1:15, but now I gotta tell you to do your homework at 1:40. I gotta tell you to go to bed at 5 o'clock. I gotta tell you to pick up your clothes. They're stuck in between. Okay, low reading or math score. They're trying to scream for help, and we want them to get their Lexile scores up without understanding what they need. Expert behavior patterns. I loved when Dr. Muhammad talked about that. It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert in anything. Our middle and high school babies are at 8,000, maybe 9. They're about to hit that peak. What can we do to change it? And then let's not forget they're away from their friends and they feel excluded. Communication, if we do not show them how to have restorative communication, they are going to face challenges ahead. And let's not forget, we also are up against, lingo and jargon and slang. You know, when I was in high school, I had a friend from Philadelphia, and we were actually in each other's wedding back then. We just became friends from like high school until. And I remember we were laughing about something with the Cosby Show. And I said, oh my God, man, you're a nut. And the conversation stopped. I was like, hello? And I had a rotary phone back there. Hello? Hello? He said, what'd you just say to me? I said, you're hilarious. You're a nut. And it went from, yeah, girl, ha ha, to like, yo, don't ever say that to me again. I'm like, what did I say? I just called you a nut. I had no idea, being from New York, that calling a male a nut was the utmost disrespect. I had no idea. Who knew? So we have to be careful even with our own jargon, and what makes sense to us may not make sense to our scholars. Any questions before we go on? Okay, so our babies need 7 C's of communication. Okay, so here's a scenario. I have 4 brave souls who's going to participate in this. We have a parent of 2 scholars who are learning at 2 different schools. And that parent is really irate because one of the scholars, right, during the school year was not doing what they had to do anyway, but now they're failing all their courses because of remote learning. The Rona and you are the primary reasons why my kid is failing. So the scholar in question did not complete assignments while live learning was in session. Grades were underperformed, and the parents were aware of this. But instead of anything happening on an academic level, the scholar was rewarded even after those challenges and suspensions were enacted. All accommodations were honored by both the educator and the clinical team. However, despite team efforts, the scholar refused to work and or submitted work with profanity and obscene drawings. So this is what happened before. And now during remote learning, it continues. So can we have the first one, Story and Jaritza? Can you please give us your version of this scenario? We're going to find out what could have been said as opposed to what was said. Okay, so go ahead. Can you unmute yourselves?
Before I start mine, I'm gonna go on black screen because anybody on my team knows my favorite.
No worries. Okay. All right, so go ahead, guys.
Yeah, hi. Can I speak to Principal Yaritza Rodriguez?
This is Jaritza. How can I help you?
Yeah, I just received a third model computer report card for my son, Billy Peterson, and he's got all Fs. I want to know why he's failing. I mean, we're not in school as it is, and, you know, he's not receiving a teacher with this whole Rona fake news.
Well, Mr. Pearson, I pulled Billy's grades up, and it shows that he was failing during the months that we were in school. Those are the times for third marking period. We took it between the months of January and March.
Well, I don't really understand. Like, he shouldn't be failing while he was in school. I mean, I really don't think Billy gets along with his teacher.
Well, I see that he wasn't completing the work. When Billy turned in the work, it came with profanity and obscene drawings on them. So this is the reason why, and also he was getting suspended for that.
Yeah, so I still don't understand though. You're suspending my son all the time. How is he supposed to complete his work if he's not in school? The whole point of learning is being in school. So if he's suspended, how's he supposed to learn? And if he's drawing obscene drawings, what exactly is he drawing on his paper?
So from the reports that I have, I saw that there were multiple calls from our staff explaining the situation of why he was suspended. I don't really feel that comfortable explaining the obscene drawings that were on it, but I can scan them to you and send them to you. That way we can have a conversation about it, or if you want to talk to us more about it, at least you can see an example of it.
Yeah, please scan those over to me. And you do know that Billy has an IEP. So you do realize because my son has an IEP, you really should not be failing him. You probably aren't doing your job.
Well, Mr. Pearson, we have provided all the accommodations for this IEP, and we're trying to schedule an IEP meeting, but we haven't heard back. Do you want to schedule it now or have it on the phone?
Excellent.
Yeah, let's go ahead and schedule that. I'd like to schedule it for next Monday if that's available.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll meet with the team and then I'll follow up.
Excellent.
All right, thank you. Billy, get your butt over here.
Excellent, excellent. So do you see? So first of all, Billy, I love it.
Yeah, this is why I kept laughing the whole time. I was trying to tell you.
I love it. But do you see how J. Rod was able to diffuse it? She didn't say, well, your kid was the reason why, and he's drawing this on his paper, and he's back. She didn't do that. She figured out a way to use restorative communication to not make the parent feel bad, but to let the parent see what the challenges may or may not have been. And she was able to pick up the paper. Remember, if it's not written, it ain't happened. So she was able to recapitulate what took place as per his name on the paper. Excellent job. So now we have the same scenario. Fuller and Miller, go ahead.
Mr. Miller, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm the parent, right?
You're the parent, correct?
All right. Hello, can I speak to the principal?
This is Mr. Fuller. How can I help you?
Listen, I'm about sick and tired of this school, man. I really am. My son is failing. I really don't understand why. You know, I feel like he's not getting what he needs. I need something to be done, or I'm just going to take my son out of the school. I'm just going to move him to another school where he can be helped.
So let me just stop you for just a moment. What seems to be the problem exactly?
One, he's not doing any work. He's failing. I keep getting these phone calls about his work. I have to work myself. I don't have time for this. What are you doing as a school to help my son?
No, I definitely understand. I mean, if the COVID-19 has been a struggle on everyone. And so since the last time that all of us, all students and staff that were in school, going back to March, it's been 2.5 months. And so we're doing the very best that we can. When we made the switch to move online, we gave out the laptops. Did you receive a laptop?
I did receive a laptop, yes.
Okay. Do you have working internet at home? Or is that a struggle right now?
It's a little shoddy, but it works.
Okay. Because what we're doing, and again, I know it's tough, but every day between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., your son's teachers are available online to do Zoom sessions. It's not as great as being in school for live instruction, but it gives us an opportunity to at least address some of the concerns. Even counseling, we moved that online. Has he been able to participate in any of those sessions?
Now, you said that's taking place between 9 and 3?
9 and 3 each day.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. Okay.
Okay, because I know, again, it's not as great as one-on-one, but being able to log into those Zoom sessions to do those clinical sessions and to be able to work with your teachers, is definitely helpful. So if he's not taking advantage of it, let's take a look at doing that as soon as possible. And maybe you and I could even check in at the end of each day or at the end of the week. You just let me know what works for your schedule, and maybe we can work from there.
And I appreciate that. You said your name was Mr. Fuller?
Mr. Fuller, the third.
Okay, the third. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, sir. And I will make sure that Raheem is on tomorrow between 9 and 3.
Absolutely. Thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Raheem, get your head.
Excellent job. So who can identify with this scenario right now?
I can.
Okay.
Everyone.
I think all of us, right?
Definitely.
Every last one of us.
So with the two scenarios that they eloquently did, and thank you again for your yes, what stuck out the most with both scenarios? Like, what made you feel good as an educator and or parent for our moms and dads there? What made you feel comfortable with how the administrators handled this?
I would say the calmness and the tone of each professional.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the professionalism in each professional. And I like the fact that each professional allowed the parent to speak, state their piece without cutting them off.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them their opportunity and avenue to be heard, and they weren't criticized for their concern for their child.
Yes, that's important. We're so quick to be heard instead of for people to listen, and we want to cut it. Well, your kid. The fact that Doc recognized that, like, listen, you say what you have to say, and now let me comfort you in knowing that we can help you with that. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, I think it's important to just let people let out their frustration a bit. They could be stressed at work. They could be stressed for, they deal with their child as well. And just things like that. So, if, you give people a chance to express themselves. And I think it's just always nice how the beginning of a conversation, parent could be irate and aggressive, but by the end of it, if we can, find a middle ground and find balance or find a productive way together to move forward, whether it be a meeting or more of an understanding on things they might not be privy to, because some parents might not be privy to behaviors in the classroom, things that their child says or does or writes. And so if you get everybody on the same page, it's usually a productive way to move forward.
Absolutely.
We provided options and made, and offered suggestions.
Yes. And it didn't just pinpoint one thing. It was, listen, we can do this, we can offer that, or how about this? Okay. And parents like that. They love to hear that. You know, no one wants to be stapled to just one option, especially in trying times like this. We don't know what's going on at that house. I love the question. Do you have internet? Did you receive the the laptop? If not, you know, we have handouts, we have packets, we have options. Okay. That's what restorative communication is all about. Okay. So disclosure, I'm apologizing in advance. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, can you please get it? It could be any piece of paper. It could be any size paper. Can you just pick up a piece of paper? Again, disclosure, I'm apologizing in advance, but this is just for the exercise. So if you have a piece of paper, any size paper, can you please take it out? Okay. So this is, I'm about to show you what communication looks like if we're not restorative. Fold your paper. You can unmute yourself to ask questions too. Fold your paper. Fold it up top. Tear it. Fold it again. Tear it in the middle. First of all, don't stop me when I'm talking to you, all right? Do what I just said. Fold it. Tear it. All right? Just do it. Every time I try to tell you how to do something, you don't listen. Goodness, sheesh. Like, just rip the paper. All right, did you fold it? Did you rip it again? All right? All right, now put your initial on this paper right here. Put your initial. Okay? Now rip it. So who's talking while I'm talking?
And now my handwriting is Sheldon.
I'm not taking questions right now. Fold the paper. Thank you. Did you every time? Just fold it. All right? Is everyone done?
Do you want our first and last initial?
Can you figure this out? I just said put your initial on the paper. God, like what part of this we are in the 4th market period and you're still asking me questions like that. Just fold the paper, put your initial, please. Thank you.
This is probably the reason why I'm failing now.
Too many questions. Listen, can I get support to room 4, please?
What time is lunch? Out of here.
All right. Now everyone show me their paper.
I ain't got one.
It's 1:45.
Why do all our papers, Chrissy, your paper's ripped? Why do we all have different paper? What did I do wrong?
You yelled at us.
You didn't get the directions, Miss Shelley. Too many directions. They're not good.
You didn't get my own paper.
Okay. So I heard I wasn't clear, bad direction. I was yelling. Jones like, I don't got my paper no more. Forget you, right? Now, again, that's why I gave my disclosure. You know I wouldn't talk to y'all like that. But this is what our children hear when we do not practice the 7 C's of communication, okay? So are we twisting it? Are we giving innovative, dynamic, and versatile instructions, okay? Communication must be clear about what I'm trying to say. Guys, can you please fold it hot dog style? Can you please fold it hamburger? We're saying this for our kids. Of course, as adults, we won't say that. But can you fold it the long way? Can you fold it the short way? I'm going to ask you to tear it. Let me show you what I need you to do. You're going to tear it by going like this. And then now you have this piece in your hand and this piece. You see how I'm explaining it a little bit better? I'm clear. I'm concise. I'm giving you one idea at a time. I'm chunking it. I'm not giving any ambiguity. You know what I'm trying to say to you. There's no questions asked. And it's correct, give you error-free and reliable sources. I'm not saying that Wikipedia told me to tell you to do it like this. I'm using research, empirical data to give you this lesson. And it's logical. It's not logical to expect you all to understand what I just said in the manner I gave it. And it's complete. All the details need to be there. And I need to be courteous. I can't call you stupid. You know, that's why your mama don't like you. You can't do that. You know, you have to be courteous when we're talking to our scholars, right? So the 7 C's of communication turns the principles of restorative communication. Let's teach our children not to look at things punitively, but to look at it restoratively. And we could do that by changing the approach and how we talk to our babies, okay? Relationship. This is important with restorative communication. It begins with the principle of relationship, and it's the most fundamental one. It emphasizes that the primary role of communication plays the creation and maintenance of the experience, both for us and our scholars. But the main thing to take away, and I'll give you guys a copy of this PowerPoint if you'd like to read it, further. You may or may not be the person that the scholar goes to. You may or may not be the person the scholar goes to. And we have to be okay with that. Do not force it. Don't ridicule the scholar. Don't make them feel bad that they want to go to Jones instead of you. Don't be upset that they don't choose you, because there's something in the relationship that was built that makes them comfortable to go to Jones or to go to Christina or to go to Sonia or to go to Tamika or to go to whomever, right? Don't make the scholar feel bad about that decision. And then after that, there's recognition of inherent dignity. Even though they're an alternative education, they still deserve dignity. Okay? Okama untusu means an understanding of an agreement. So if you recognize that there's a basic regard for the human life, you'll understand and respect the fact that behavior is what our scholars do, but the value in them is who they are. Yeah, Johnny cussed you out and invited you to body parts, but at the end of the day, now he wants to give you a letter saying, I'm sorry, Mrs. Wins, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry, Queen, I was really out of pocket calling you what I said. We have to recognize that they deserve dignity, even when we feel they don't deserve it. It's a reset button every day. We knew what we signed up when we filled that application. We knew what we signed up after our first professional development. You even had an opportunity to exit stage left to say thanks, but no thanks. So now that you're in this building, we have to understand that the behavior is what got them there, but the value of that person is what's going to get them out. Respect. Even a dog deserves respect. We have to respect our children and each other. We may not like what we say. We may not like what we do. It's not my business what you do at 4:45. You could do that and do it well. But I have to respect you as a professional. I have to respect you as a BI. I have to respect you as a para, as an educator, as a clinician, as an administrator. You know, those 5 o'clock meetings are real deep, y'all. And we have to be real respectful of that. And the respectful communication is a framework that protects us as individuals and our job, but it also protects our interpersonal and social relationships alike. Responsibility, another restorative practice of communication. Every individual is responsible for how they communicate. Okay, we just went through exercises. As leaders and teachers, let's stop with the excuses and let's model it with our communication. This team is excellent with that, but what we see on the outside, this could, our method with TLI can help a lot of these teachers in other districts. Okay. Reconciliation. All right, look, we have to reconcile. Okay, Johnny, you cussed me out, but what can we do to make this better? What can we do to establish a harmony and a better relationship tomorrow? Okay, at the end of the day, we still hug our babies. We still give them a high five and thumbs up, even after the behavior, because we recognize their value. But with reconciliation, there's also repair. And repair is where we understand that they are hurting. Maybe they're acting out because they don't want to go home because they know they're going to be abused. Maybe they're acting out because it's getting closer to 2:15 and that ride home is like the Green Mile because they know what's to come next. Let's repair it with a sincere apology or reparative action plan that addresses what they're thinking about with their attitudes and behaviors so they can focus on education. And reintegration. Repair what's needed, accept limitations, strive for professional communication skills, and reintegrate the process with healthy restorative communication. Listen, don't worry about what happened yesterday. Today's a new day. What can I do for you today? Did you eat this morning? How about another cereal? You good? So with that being said, we have 9 minutes left for question and answers, or we could go back to any slide if you want to emphasize on anything in specific.
Mr. Fuller.
Hey, Mr. Fuller. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, when you started your presentation, you were talking about, Big Mom back in the day saying, make yourself small while she was watching, her sitcom. Uh-huh. And I smiled to myself because this morning, I found myself saying the same thing to my youngest son. He was all over the place. And, sometimes you just need a minute to kind of gather your mention, young children just being inquisitive and want to kind of just do different things. That was something that resonated with me because I had just said something very similar earlier this morning. So I need to go back and make that right once he
Exactly. And what we can say instead, because most of you know my kids, I have a now emerging college student. I have a 13-year-old who is like, I'm raising myself in her. And I'll be in the middle of a training and my daughter will say, hey mom, guess what? And I'm like, and everyone's in the Zoom like, and I have to be mindful to say, Leah, mommy's working right now. Can you give me a few moments? Opposed to, girl, you'll get out my face, because now she's going to keep coming back because she didn't get what she was looking for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Michelle, if I can, I want to go back to the slide that stood out to me the most. It was the relationship. And
yes.
The relationship that you have with the parents is the most paramount, because you've had parents come to the school ready to set us on fire. And when they see Jones, they'll see Tammy, they'll see Jaretta, they'll be like, yo, I know these people.
Yep.
I know these people. They are not going to let these things that you are saying happen to you in this building. And I can't tell you how many times that has saved our life, because the parents are coming there ready to get something like, yo, I know that. So for me, the relationship piece stood out because of those relationships, we've sustained and we've survived, because the parents trust in our judgment, regardless of what their kid may lie, alter, or confuse them about it. They respect that handle.
That's big. And Doc, you taught me this the most, because I came to Douglas, with Prestige Academy in mind. And Doc was like, look, you're good, right? But I need you to form relationships with these kids. Your lessons are all right, but they're not going to hear it if you don't form that relationship. And then in forming a relationship with them, you form the relationship with the parent or guardian. Because see, if you have a relationship with the parent or guardian, like you just said, they trust in knowing, all right, I know good and well that Melody did not shove my kid down the stairs during lunch. What really happened. Opposed to, like you said, they blazing ready to come in here and do something. We have to remember that some of the behaviors our scholars emulate or behaviors that they learn at home. And I mean, I'll tell you a situation like loosely about what happened. I had a scholar say, oh, Miss Shelton threw something at me because she was mad. And because of the relationship I have with the professionals, they said, now I know good and well she didn't do that. And then because the relationship wasn't really there with the parent because of just issues, or for whatever reason, we didn't get a chance to bond a relationship because I knew where I'm at. Later on, she said to another person, you know what? I think Miss Shelton was telling the truth, because now that I think about it, I don't think she would have done that. The relationship is not instantaneous sometimes. Sometimes it has to grow, just like a loving relationship. It has to grow. So definitely, Doc, you're on point with that.
Michelle, and I think for me, it was recognizing that everybody has a different communication style, and being able to pick up on that by observing what that style is. I thought that really stood out. A lot of times people don't speak our language.
Right.
And that's where we drop the ball, looking for them to talk like us, walk like us. But a lot of times we got to talk and walk like them.
Right.
That's where the connection is made. So that was big. That really stuck out to me.
Thank you. And guys, I want to tell you something. Miller was in the classroom one day and he was talking about something. They said, man, you don't know about that. And Miller turned around. He said, don't let these socks and shoes fool you, right? Like, I know exactly what you mean. And that formed a relationship just right there. Right there. And don't fake it, because the kids will test you. The kids will test you. I remember a Christian said, you don't know nothing about rap. What do you know about The Game and Snoop? I was like, what? Boy, what? And I started saying some of the song, started the titles and started rapping with him. And he said, yo, you really do know it. You good. Right? Look, he's this big. But that formed a relationship with us where when he was going through something, he would rap it out. He'd rap it out. And that was real. What if I told him, like, yeah, I know about Dr. Dre and all them? And he's like, okay, give me a record. And I'm like, oh, they sang the Partridge Family. That relationship is gone. Because now I lied to him. Now he's looking like, yo, you're a fraud. I don't believe anything you ever say in life, even the lesson, right? And that relationship is lost. Anybody else? We have about another 3 minutes.
You make a very valid point. And I think that they're also willing to accept when we make mistakes if that relationship is genuine.
Yes.
And my kids know that, because there's times I'll be like, oh,
I jack that all the way up, y'all. And they be like, we know Mrs. White. And it's not right. So, you know, just that genuineness. Sometimes, you know, you find, and just like you said, outside of our building, that connection is not real. And being able to look them in their face. And that's why that face-to-face communication is very important for me. And Jones knows, everybody knows, I will walk my kids out of the classroom because the conversation isn't for everybody. And we will go sit in the copy room and we will have a 10-15 minute conversation to pull it back together. And when we go back in, that reset button is hit. So that relationship has to be genuine, start to finish. And it will be a very beautiful give and take with your children, even on their worst day. It will still be a very beautiful give and take.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ms. Shelton, I just want to add this right quick. Back to the communication and the family concept. We have to also see that when our staff and teachers become frustrated in the classroom, in the moment of dealing with these maladaptive kids, we have to recognize a tap out moment. Tap out, I got you. Go take 5, go take 10. And that's the family concept. When you see your mom struggling, or you see your dad, listen, step up. Tap them on the shoulder and say, yo, I got the groceries. I'm going to take them in. I got dinner tonight. I'm going to cook it, Mom. Go lay down.
Yes. Yes. I can't even say anything after that because you hit it right on the nail. We have to know when to say when. We're super, but we also are human. We're also human.
Ms. Shelton, I wanted to say also very good training, right?
Thank you.
And staff really just have to be attuned to the environment. And this is a training that should be done almost every time or touched upon when we have professional development. Our environment is so chaotic and it's so consuming that these basic principles here, we lose that focus. So in September or in August, it sounds great. September, it looks good, but come October, we have forgotten some of these things. So the refresher and the reminders on just this concept alone goes a long way, because although we see the kids come in and they're walking, they're talking, they one day they do their thing and they're good, then we take the run with it as adults and say, you know what, he did his thing yesterday, there's nothing wrong with him, he's good. And we forget that there's some things going on. We forget that these kids have been through some type of trauma, or maybe today they thought about whatever that was. So to keep trying to reiterate this with staff and have the mindfulness to be able to remember these things when dealing with these kids, definitely a great training, and also should always be on the refresher list, because you can't remind yourself enough to remember you're not dealing with the normal.
Right, right. Thank you, Jones. I really appreciate that.
I was gonna say, the one thing that touched me was the presentation with the parent and the child, because I have been that parent. I have gone into the school and I have been very, very frustrated. And if I become more frustrated because that technique right there is not the technique that I'm met with when I go in.
Wow.
You know, I'm getting the emails of he did this, he did that. And so for me as a parent, I viewed that as a parent, and if I were going in and getting that, I would probably be a lot calmer and not come out of pocket when I'm sitting there talking to them.
And that's truth. That's true. It's real. We're humans too. We're educators, but we're human. And especially with our babies, listen, I had my daughter, and you know, those who worked with me last year, they understood what happened. My daughter got jumped just because. No reason, no rhyme or reason, just because. The girl said your hair is fake, your eyebrows are fake, your eyelashes are fake, and they jumped her. And when I went to the school, they said, well, I wonder what she could have done or said differently. Excuse me, she went to use the bathroom. That's what she could. Maybe if we went to a different school and I went left because my daughter was a victim, but was blamed for being jumped. And that approach, I didn't get that either. And I had to remember, okay, put the New York Sean back. You know, put that little DMX Nipsey back, and now instead bring in the professional and let's try to reason with this, you know, because it's not only like Jones and Doc said, you know, even Fuller, it's not so much, you know, the child going left, the parent can go left too, which is a whole nother thing, because now the respect as a teacher or administrator or BI, you'll hear, oh, yo, he got chumped by so-and-so's mom right there. Then that's a whole new thing. That's a whole longer day, month, year. So absolutely, Melody.
Right. Awesome, Ms.
Well,
Shelton.
thank
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
Very outstanding. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
everyone for showing up and being active and engaged. And our next PD is next Tuesday, the 26th, and we'll see you on the call at that time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
God bless everybody. Keep safe.
Bye, everyone. I miss y'all.
Miss y'all.
Miss y'all.
Good job.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Hey, we got a check in tomorrow.
No, check-ins are done until June.
All right, so nothing tomorrow.
Nothing tomorrow. Next call is the 26th. Next Tuesday.
All right, thanks, Ted.
No problem.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Good job, Shelton.
Thank you, Wilson. Call me, Will.
Fuller.
Great job, Miss Shelton.
Thank you, Nichols.
Welcome, sis.
Love you more. Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching. Much appreciated. And I didn't get a chance to read the comments out. Thank you, guys.